The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.
You're listening to UCW Radio. In your face.
Welcome to another segment of the UCW Radio Show. This is your host, Lou, a.k.a. Falcon Coparis. And I want to thank all of our listeners for the continued support just by listening to the show. Without you, we wouldn't have a show. We're adding additional content, new content. We have a lot of stuff going on. Some great guests coming on the show. Syndication is increasing, so a lot of great things happening in the world of UCW. In just a little while, we're going to have a special guest on the show. Look, he's none other than Chris DeRose of Last Chance for Animals. I'm honored to have him on the show. He's actually a great guy, and he was an actor at one point, and he starred in such TV shows as General Hospital, Cagney and Lacey, Chips, The Rockford Files, Beretta, and a whole bunch of others. But his most important role in his life is the one that he took on as an animal activist. So I look forward to speaking with him, but we're going to get to him in a little while. Before we bring him on, I just want to go over a couple of things. As I've been speaking about, maybe a little bit too much, but that's okay. We are now the official host for the Ultimate Body Radio Show. Yay! Okay, that is attached to the Ultimate Body Reality Show, and that's being brought to us by the great executive producer David Lyons. He's the one that did Hog Heaven, the animated feature Creepers, and he's a smart guy, and he's an inspirational guy as well. He brought in, and he was smart with this Ultimate Body reality show, he brought in a producer that is familiar or actually has a lot of reality shows that they've been attached to, and he brought in Lauren Alvarez. And if you don't know her, you're going to know the stuff that she's worked on, which include The Osbournes, The Surreal Life, Meet My Folks, and so on and so forth. Now, in case you don't know what the Ultimate Body reality show is about, let me just go through it real quick. It's a bodybuilding reality show, first of its kind. You have 13 men, 13 women competing for the crown of being called the Ultimate Body. And again, you have like reality shows like The Biggest Loser or Weight Loss This and Weight Loss That. At the end of the day, this show, I think it's going to surpass that only because of what it's bringing to the table. Because it's not too often you see people that are regular folk that maybe wanted to be bodybuilders, and they may be 10, 20, 30 pounds overweight, whatever it may be. They're not 500 pounds overweight, and they have the opportunity to get into the best shape of their lives. Period. The end. They live in a mansion. Okay, they're not living in a training facility. They're living in a mansion. They are being trained by some of the best trainers in the United States. They're going to get the supplements from Gaspari Nutritions. Gaspari Nutrition. And that, all this stuff is supplied to them free of charge. They're there in the mansion for about 12 to 13 weeks. So it's an interesting concept, and I think that this is something that's going to have longevity. With this, you're competing $50,000 in a spread in Muscle Magazine. So, there are a lot of good things in there on top of you being in the best shape of your life and being a reality show star. Not a bad deal. Now, here goes the bad news. There's an open casting call, last one, period, the end, for this season, and that's being held Saturday, October 17th, from 11 in the morning till 6 at night. And that's at the Ramada Orlando Celebration Resort and Convention Center. And that's located at 635 West Earl Bronson Highway. That's in Kissimmee, Florida. Now, I am going to suggest for those that are looking to go to www.theultimatebodytvshow.com and go there and download the application, submit it beforehand so that you're not waiting in a horrendous line trying to submit the stuff, because I have a feeling you're going to have a lot of people over there. And only 26 people are going to be picked out of the thousands that are going to be applying. So I would get myself down there, get my things to them before I get myself down there. Okay, I just confused myself, but that's okay. But get to download the application, fill it out, get it to the producers, and get it in beforehand. But it's a good opportunity as I said, to not only get into the best shape of your life, but also to be involved in a great reality show. And this reality show, I believe, this is me being unbiased, is going to have longevity. So you're going to have season after season after season, with a great guy like David Lyons. He's such an inspirational guy behind this. Yeah, this is going to have longevity. Now, the next thing that I want to talk to you about is celebrity boxing. There is a celebrity boxing event that's happening in Florida in February, and it's pretty interesting too. It's for the benefit of our troops, supporting our troops. This is the Now More Than Ever Fund. That's what it's supporting, and that's Stephen Baldwin's fund. So the event's happening Wednesday, February 3rd, 2010, at the over 18,000 seat Bank Atlanta Center in Sunrise, Florida. You have Chris Gambino. He's going to be going against Stephen Baldwin, so that should be interesting. They are going to be announcing match upon match upon match as the weeks go by, so you have to stay tuned to it. Go to mycelebrityboxing.com, check it out, and keep updated. And I think you only have one more day to get the pre-media TV, the pre-media tickets, the VIP tickets. And you go to the site, you get them, because I think they're going for about $250 each, but that includes an after party and a whole bunch of stuff. But once this goes out through Ticketmaster, all that stuff's off the table, and you may just be paying a lot more than that. And I think it's gonna, if you want to get involved and support our troops and go see a great event, this is the time to do it. That's mycelebrityboxing.com. Also, I need to say this as well, because if I don't say it, I may get yelled at. We did open the doors. The UCW radio show did open the doors for sponsorship partnerships, sponsorship opportunities. So if you want to align yourself with the UCW radio show, you're more than welcome to do so. Give us a call at 323-952-4369 and find out how you can do that, or you can go to ucwmagazine.com to find out more. Again, the number is 323-952-4369. And if you're on Twitter, you can shoot me out some questions, your comments for our guest, or even for myself, and just do that. My Twitter name is Luis Velazquez. That's LOUIS VELAZQUEZ. So follow me and tweet away. Also, I need to say this before we bring Chris DeRose on the line on the show. Actually, remember to keep in tune with the top mixed martial arts organization in the New England area. That's Cage Fighting Extreme, or CFX, which is the call letters. It's run by, I call her the matriarch of mixed martial arts, Linda Shields. She's a woman taking a stand in the world of mixed martial arts, which is dominated by men. So I commend her for that. I wish that the media in the New England area would pick up the story, which to me is amazing that they're not. But hey, you know what? The story's getting picked up here, and that's what we're doing. This is one of those mixed martial arts organizations that hold their fighters, sponsors, vendors, and fans in the highest regards. So in short, it's a sign of a great promoter, and I think that's fantastic. And she's doing some great things over there. Now, without further ado, let's patch in Last Chance for Animals founder, and a really great guy. I'm telling you, before I bring him on the line, I'm saying that I'm really honored to have him on the show, so that we can tell the story of Last Chance for Animals and tell his story. And I think, again, I don't know where the interview is going to go, but just follow it. I promise you this much, that it's not going to be boring. Not boring at all. Okay, without further ado, here is Chris DeRose. Chris, it's great to have you on the UCW radio show. I really want to thank you for taking time out to be on the show today.
Thank you, Lou, and I appreciate you caring enough to put me on here.
Oh, well, no doubt about it. What you're doing is amazing. And I always say this at the beginning of the show, when we have a guest on. I say this to all of our guests, that we do appreciate the time that is put aside for us. But in your case, with what you're doing, I doubly, even if that's even a word, doubly appreciate the time. You know, but look, I know you have a lot of exciting things to talk about today, and you know, I just want to give our listeners broad strokes on who you are, in case they don't know. You know, you used to be, you know, do a lot of stuff in Hollywood. You've done stuff from, I mean, acting from General Hospital, Cagney and Lacey on down, Rockford Files, Beretta. You did all that stuff, but probably your greatest accomplishment is when you founded Last Chance for Animals.
Yeah, that was 25, a little over 25 years ago. I've been doing this 31 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's not like I wanted to start an organization. It was really the last thing in the world I wanted to do. However, one thing led to another, and we don't have the biggest organization in the country. It's probably around the sixth largest, but it's definitely the best. I mean, we get things done. We make things happen. It's not a fluffy organization. We go after somebody. We get them. We put the first people in this country in state prison, federal prison. Got the first government licensed dealers that have their licenses permanently revoked. Pretty much when the bad guys hear our name, they pretty much know it's over. Well, because if we're coming after them, we're going to get them. It's not a matter of if; it's only a matter of when.
Yeah, but that's what it comes to. I mean, you have a lot of people that do some horrible things to animals, but I think what I like to do, if it's okay with you, is, you know, just explain to our listeners what Last Chance for Animals is, in case they don't know. I know what it is, but so I try to go and make things simple so that people can follow the show a little better.
Okay, Last Chance for Animals is primarily an investigative organization. We do the investigations into really big cases. We worked on the Michael Vick case as technical advisors for the federal agents, because those same federal agents were working with my undercover ops in big cockfighting operations, of one which a sheriff in Maryland was involved with. And as a matter of fact, he'll be getting sentenced pretty soon. He was the ringleader of it, and
that's nice.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there goes your tax dollars.
Yeah, there you go. The authorities involved.
So we have busted 4 of the largest cockfighting rings in the country, and while we were doing that, working along with the federal agents, they had asked us if we knew anything about dogfighting, and of course we do. And then we started giving them advice on what to look for, and that had to do with the Michael Vick case. So we did work on that, and we're the only ones that worked on it at an investigatory level as far as an animal organization goes. We've been around, like I say, for 25 years. I've been doing this for 31 years now. And the thing that got me involved was a dog. Somebody had asked me to go into a laboratory and help them document what was going on in the lab. And I had a Malamute die in my arms in a lab. And that pretty much launched me into the anti-vivisection battle, and which is against animal experimentation. And I had been doing that now for 31 years. Prior to that, I got involved with animal welfare a little bit, which was spay and neuter, because I saw what had gone on inside the pounds, and how they kill the animals, and what we call euthanize, but that's just a euphemism for killing. And I watched how they do that, and with the decompression chambers, and I was horrified by it. Now, you got to remember, I was originally from Brooklyn. I grew up most of my time in Jersey, and I was a cop in Jersey. I've seen a lot of stuff. Right. But what I've seen, I've never had a dog or a cat, so it's not like a dog-cat issue for me. It's an issue of respect for life. And what I've seen happening to animals just blew my mind. I had no idea that human beings can come up with such things. And even though I was making a very comfortable living as an actor, and I was working all the time, I started putting more and more time into the animal stuff, and before you knew it, it grew to the point where I was putting all my time into it, and I had no time for the acting, and I kind of just worked my way out of the acting. This is my passion. I don't make.
But Chris, I just want to interrupt for a second, because I want our listeners to understand is that you're not just saying, "Well, I created the Last Chance for Animals," and you're just saying words, these aren't words. You actually put yourself so much into this that you got arrested 11 times for this.
Oh, yeah, I've been arrested
Yeah.
11 times. I served 4 times in the L.A. County Jail, which is the toughest jail in the United States. And then one of the times I was in solitary confinement for 90 days. The other time I was in a hole for 45 days. Anybody that knows the hole in solitary, they know it's pretty bad places. I got to meet Richie Ramirez, the Night Stalker, when I was in the hole. Talked to him every day. I got to meet Eric Menendez in solitary confinement. You know, they're not in the same cell with you, but they'll come by and they'll talk to you through the door.
Right.
Yeah, it was tough. And being a claustrophobic, it was rough for me because I had to keep thinking about what the animals must go through. You know, even a rat or a mouse being stuck in a tube and can't move.
Yeah.
You know, cats, dogs, primates, and stereotaxic devices. These are the devices that hold you so that you cannot move, while they could probe you and stick electrodes or chemicals into your body and or cut into your body, and you can't move. And this is without any analgesics of any kind, any painkillers. So I kept thinking about these animals, what they go through, and the animals that I've seen in laboratories, and that was what was able to get me through it, or else I don't know if I ever would have been able to get through it.
Wow, yeah, I mean, most people just getting arrested one time would have been it for them.
Yeah, and you know, I've been shot a couple times doing this too. I've been shot in the stomach and in the back, and again, I just look at it all in relations to what animals go through. And again, they don't have anybody that can speak up for them. And I could speak up for myself. I could speak up for others. Animals really can't say anything except suffer in silence.
Yeah, but that's what happens. I mean, you're actually putting your life on the line when you do this.
Yeah, you know, it's like a quote from Martin Luther King. He said, "If you haven't found something worth dying for, you're not fit to live." And I do feel like a person has to, like a mother would die for their child if their child was in a house that was on fire or something. You know, I think most people can find something that they would die for. So it's not that out, you know, it's not that far out there. And, you know, my conscience tells me that this is what I need to do, that this is the right thing to do. And, you know, and people say, well, why not people, children? Well, I've been a big brother to 26 kids. As a matter of fact, I was with one this past Sunday, my little brother Jason. You know, his father was a good friend of mine, and I've had 26 little brothers, and I've worked with kids and different issues. So it's not a matter of I'm picking animals over people. It's just they need it as well. I mean, they suffer just as much as anybody else.
Sure.
If a dog or a cat or any animal doesn't eat, it gets hungry just like you or I. If you probe it with something sharp, it feels the pain like you or I. As far as the basic needs and things of an animal, they are no different than we are. No different at all.
Yeah, I'll tell you this much, Chris. You know, I told you before we started the show that the thing that got me with you and your organization, and more so was you. It wasn't so much the organization, it was your passion towards this when you were on the Dog Whisperer and you were infiltrating the puppy mills and going through that. I never knew that existed.
Yeah, puppy mills are a big problem in this country, and hundreds of thousands of animals are being bred, and there's no reason for it when we're killing about 8 million a year in these shelters. As you saw, Cesar Millan was very shocked to see what was going on inside a puppy mill. He's never been in one. We got him inside of 2 of them, and it's pretty shocking to see the conditions, to see what the animals go through. And even if a few of them, and there's not many of them, ever look clean and sanitary, that's nothing. That doesn't mean anything to the animals that are in there that are turning around in a circle, that are stressed out, that need attention, need some kind of emotional release. These animals suffer, you know, horribly, and people that go into a pet store and buy their animal from a pet store, and let me tell you, 99.99% of these pet stores that sell dogs, they're coming from puppy mills. Don't let them tell you that they're buying them from some special breeder that raises only a couple litters a year, and they raise them in their homes. Those hobby breeders do not sell to pet stores. They just do not sell to pet stores.
They sell on their own.
They sell on their own.
Right.
And so these people you're buying a pet store, you're contributing to the death of 3 other animals and the raising and the transportation and the sickness of these animals. Because for every one puppy mill dog that gets into a home, 3 will die. Wow. It's a numbers game with the puppy mills.
And they don't care. It's all about money.
That's all it is. That's all it is, Lou.
That's so crappy, you know. And when I saw the show, and when you were going through it, I said, wow. I said, you know, they're born. They had a female dog on there. She was born in a cage. Lived in a cage. By the time she was 3 years old, she had 6 litters. And I said, how is that? I mean, that's ridiculous.
And not only that, Lou. Never stepped on the ground, never stepped on soil, never stepped on grass. And that's the one thing that was shown. You could see when they were walking, they could just barely, they're not sure what they're standing on because they've always been on wire cages, you know, wire mesh on the bottom. They've never, and that's because it's just easier to maintain these cages. They don't want to put any effort into it. So when these animals come out, they're traumatized. They're very, very traumatized. And if you could only imagine being locked in a closet your entire life, and on a grade, and then coming out and touching solid ground or something soft like grass. You know, these animals, they just don't know what to make of it. But it's a beautiful thing to watch them evolve and start to experiment and start to feel this and enjoy it, you know, and then run around in the grass. It's really an amazing feeling to watch that.
No, I mean, when I saw the thing, I was like, oh my God! I can just imagine you being there. You know, me being a dog lover, and I lost last year. I lost 3 of my dogs.
Oh,
you know,
wow!
Yeah, but they were older. You know, they were like 12 and 13. They were pit bulls, but the friendly type.
Yep.
You know, but I love my dogs, and I said, you know what? I can't handle this like too much. You know, for you to deal with this day in and day out, and you see this stuff, it has to be taxing on you, though.
It is very taxing. I tell you, you know, and sometimes and just oddly enough, last night was one of those nights when I just couldn't sleep because of it, and certain things videos I watched yesterday that came into me, and it does play havoc on your mind. But you know, you just know what you have to do is the right thing. I learned a long time ago, Lou. I separate my emotions from my intellect. This is my job. I do it. I do it really well. I don't look at, I try never to look at their faces, you know, look in their eyes, especially an animal in a laboratory or one of these bee dealer camps where these people steal, they're licensed by the government, steal your dog, your cat, and sell them for experiments. When I'm there doing my job, I look at them. I have to look at them like they're just like a pencil or like a stapler or something. I have to look at them like objects because if I get mostly wrapped up in it, then it's about me. It's no longer about the animal.
Right.
Then I do something that's going to make me feel good, not for the overall good of the animals. So when I go in, I zero in on what my objective is, what my mission is, and I stay on it, and I don't get emotionally wrapped up in it. But then when you go home at night and you put your head on the pillow, that's when everything plays havoc, you know, and you just got to learn to deal with it.
Yeah, but you're human, so all that stuff, it has to get to you, you know. But if you find a way to deal with it, you know, I mean, the way you're dealing with it, I don't know if I can do that, if I would be able to do that, because, you know, I'm sensitive when it comes to animals as it is, so I would wind up going to jail probably for life because I would hurt somebody.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because you see, I mean, how do they get away with that stuff, though?
How did the people that hurt these animals get away with it?
Well, yeah, like with the puppy mills and stuff. You know, with that stuff. You know, I mean, how do they get away with doing that? You know, I mean, even with the experimental stuff. I mean, how do they do it? I mean, doesn't?
Well, you know, it's interesting when they find ways to legitimize it or legalize things. You know, and especially like laboratory animals in the biomedical research community. When you start making headway into exposing them, they find a way to make what you're doing illegal. I'll give you an example. About 2.5 years ago, a law was passed called the Animal Enterprise Terrorist Act, AETA bill, AETA. Now, that bill makes it not only a federal felony, but makes it a terrorist act. If you impede upon the economic flow of any animal enterprise, it could be construed as a terrorist act. Example. A furrier. You're outside demonstrating in front of a fur store. And if that person claims that you're impeding upon his economic flow, that is construed as a terrorist act. If you bust into a fur farm and let the minks go, that is construed as a terrorist act. So no matter what we do that makes a difference against the animal industries of whatever they are, that is now considered a terrorist act. So, now, when I ask you or your listeners, what is a terrorist? We think of people that are flying airplanes into buildings and killing people. Sure. We don't think of somebody standing out there protesting or someone opening up a cage and letting animals out as a terrorist act. Right. But they've managed to get it in there. What does that do? It causes what is called a chilling effect. Right. And that makes activists more nervous or concerned about going ahead and doing something like this. You know what it makes me do? It makes me want to challenge it. Yeah. It makes me just want to challenge it because it's the most unconstitutional thing that's ever come down the pipe.
Of course, you have your First Amendment rights. You know, if you're protesting about something, you have freedom of speech, don't you?
That's what you would think. But you see how this here is specifically geared toward just animal activists. It's not geared toward any other group of people. Just strictly animal people, animal rights people. And the reason for that is because the biomedical research community and the pharmaceutical industry, which are your two strongest lobbyists in Washington, and they're owned and controlled by the multinational petrochemical corporations, they're the ones that are pulling the strings in Washington. And of course they did it, under the last administration where they were able to get this through. And the sad part about it, Lou, is it went through the Senate unopposed. Not one senator saw it was wrong. And when it went through Congress, it was supposed to come in at 2:30 in the afternoon after a long vacation for the congressman. But it was supposed to be 6 o'clock in the evening. But they pushed it till 2:30 in the afternoon. Only 5 congressmen voted on it. 4 of them voted in favor of this bill. Only one stood in all of Congress, Senate and the House. Only one stood against it, and that was Dennis Kucinich. So I had asked Dennis on a radio interview why he opposed it. Why didn't anybody else oppose it? Because I read the bill. It's unconstitutional.
Yeah, that's the thing with Congress. Sometimes stuff goes in, even when they, with everything with this financial crisis, when things started going in, people just started voting on it, yes, yes, no, no. Then nobody was reading what they were doing.
You're absolutely right.
Okay, and how are you going to do that, especially with something like this? You're going to tell me that if someone's doing something to animals and I'm out there protesting, that they're going to consider me a terrorist?
That's right.
That is ridiculous.
You could be construed as a terrorist.
That is ridiculous. I mean, what's this country coming to? I love the United States. I love my country. But if you're trying to do something that's a good thing, you're going to get penalized for it, and then they're going to go make it the worst crime, worse than killing 2,000 people in a building?
That's right. That's right. They put you in that same category. As a matter of fact, animal rights is considered the #1 domestic terrorist entity in the United States. Animal rights is the #1. It's not people that are making these bombs in their homes or anything like that, or these so-called terrorists. No, we're the #1 domestic terrorist in this country. Wow. I mean, that is pathetic. That is frightening to think that we've gone to those ends. To think that the money industry of people that exploit animals have gone this far.
Yeah, but meanwhile, a guy like Bernie Madoff gets away. He gets away for years and years and decades with ripping people off. But that's okay.
Yeah. And how many lives? How many lives of people they saved? Everything in their entire life.
Yep.
Is gone. I mean, their whole dream, everything's gone.
Sure. And I think it's horrible that you're trying to do something you're standing up for animals. They can't stand up and say, okay, I oppose this. They don't know any, they're animals. They don't know any better. And you have people breeding them for this and that, whether it be, for fur, because, people criticize even PETA for sitting there and having the outrageous protests with furs, but then maybe they're off the deep end sometimes, but then again, they have a right to say what they need to say.
Yeah, no, exactly right. You know what? And I'm a firm believer, even if I disagree vehemently against what somebody else's policy or what they're saying is, however, they should have that right to say it. That's what makes our country different than all the others.
That's it.
We no longer can say it. First Amendment right does not exist for anybody in the animal rights or animal protection movement. It does not exist. If you want to go into a Puppy Mill Farm, and you want to document what's going on there, and you're caught, that can be construed as a terrorist act. Now, they've not exercised any of this because the truth of the matter is, the only time they'll exercise it is when, and really the people who really pushed this and got behind this bill to make it happen are the biomedical research community and pharmaceutical industry. The National Association of Biomedical Research, they're the ones that pushed this bill through. And they pushed it through at the 11th hour when we didn't know about it until 3 weeks before it was voted on.
Politics, politics, politics.
Yep, backdoor. They're doing a whole backdoor way of doing it. But, it's scary to think that we're going down that road. I mean, for a long time, I say a good year and a half, 2 years, it bothered me to the point where what are we doing? What's happening to this country? Where are we going? And I think a lot of people ask that question now for a lot of other reasons, the economy and everything else. But where are we going? What are we doing? And that brings me to something else, though, Lou.
Yeah.
What are we doing with the kids in the schools today? We're seeing stuff like even this thing in Chicago with this kid being killed. Where kids are so desensitized, they'll kill their classmates, they'll kill their parents. They go into schools like Columbine, and they wipe out everybody. We have created a couple of generations of little monsters that are so desensitized they don't care what's happening, and they're numb. They're totally numb. You look at these kids, and having been a big brother, I'll say I can speak from a place of knowing that where these kids are coming from. We spend so much time teaching them sciences in school, or not relating to the kid as a human being, as a living, feeling person, but we relate to them as just another kid in the class of 40.
Right.
We don't look at them, and as teachers need to be more aware of what these kids are going through, their personal strife at home, what's going on in their lives. We need to start recognizing that, start working with these kids, and stop creating generations of kids that are so desensitized they don't care if they live or die or anybody else lives or dies.
The thing is that with the education system, it starts from the chancellor on down in any county in any place in this country. Okay, where you have to kind of lower the numbers in the class so that the teachers can connect with all these kids and they can be aware. Because I know a lot of teachers, and it's hard for them to do that. You got 40, 50 kids in a class. How are you going to connect with each one? Difficult.
That's right.
Difficult.
But you know what? The thing is too, sometimes you got to deal with what you have, the tools you have, and the one tool you do have, maybe you can't take it down from 40 down to 15 or 20, but you got to at least try to identify. All of a sudden, your light goes on when you see this one kid, and they're nodding off in class. Most of the time when a kid's nodding off in class because there's problems at home. There's one sign. You see anger coming from another kid, intense anger. There's another sign. I mean, we could talk about this for hours, Lou, and just come up and we're both from the same neighborhood. We both can recognize these things.
Sure.
And I think teachers need to find certain things and look at it and start to work with these kids, and then work with the kid, with the kid's permission, with the other kids, and bring them all into the whole thing.
Right.
I'll give you an example of something. I should do lectures on different issues, be circuses, be vivisection, be it any animal issue, and I did them really well.
Right.
And one time I was sitting in a school about 7 years ago, and I'm watching all these kids come in. It was kind of like a real gangbangers and tough kids, and I'm watching them come in. And I totally dropped anything I had preconceived in my mind about what I was going to talk about. And I looked at who was the most popular kid. I looked at who thought they were the toughest kid. I picked out somebody that looked very quiet or introverted. I picked 5 or 6 kids, and I pulled them up to the front of the class. And I asked 3 questions. And I tell the class to also think about the answers to these questions. And I asked them, 1, what is the most physical pain you've ever gone through? And then I ask them, and they'll all answer it, and they'll tell me. And sometimes it'll blow your mind to hear the answers. Then I say, what's the most fear? What's the most hopelessness and loneliness? And you listen to these answers, you have the kids, and I thank them. And this is and I'm bringing 30 minutes down into 1 minute here. And I thank them. I have them sit down, and I'll say to them, now can everybody remember what your answer was to the most physical pain? Now multiply that twice as much pain, 5 times as much pain, and now you start to lose them.
Right.
And then I go thousands of times. And then I say the same thing with the fear, twice as much fear, and the loneliness and hopelessness. And then I say that's what an animal in a laboratory goes through. That's what an animal in a factory farm goes through every second of its life. That's what an animal, one of these bee dealer camps, goes through every second of its life. And that's what an elephant goes through in a circus that's been being beaten with a bullhook.
Right.
That's what they go through. And most of these animals, their only relief is their last breath when they die.
Because they can't be in pain anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the last bit of pain they're ever going to witness. And now these kids really, really connect.
Right.
So this is what teachers need to do. They need to start talking about these kids, what they're going through.
Right.
What are they feeling?
They have to break that barrier and connect with them in some way. And actually, you know what? I think that the teachers, they should have some sort of class teaching them how to do this.
Exactly. Yes, Lou.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. That's the point. They got to be able to know what to identify and how to do this. 25 years ago, I tried to bring to the school board, LA Unified School Board here, because that's when it was really bad in the 80s when kids were getting killed in the streets and gangbangers and and the gang wars and everything else that was going on, and a kid at night was getting killed. And it really tore me up to see that. So I tried to get it put into the schools where, and I remember the woman saying, bigger people, more important people than you have tried and failed. And all I was trying to do is get it where they just have an hour a week of teaching kids to be compassionate about all living beings. Because if you could be compassionate about a rat or a mouse or a cat dog, you're going to be more compassionate about your fellow beings.
Right, without a doubt.
And, I just couldn't get them to see it or do it. That was 25 years ago. I couldn't get them to make a move in that direction at all. I've spoken in front of the LA Unified School District. I had written them. I have called them. And just saying, look, I'm just saying, I'll come and I'll do the class. Just let me have 1 hour a week with the class. Let's see how it works. Just for one semester. That's all.
You know what that's like? That's like you're standing on a railroad track. You see a train coming, and you're telling them, "Get off the track. You're gonna get hit. Get off the track. You're gonna get hit." And they see the train. They're saying, "Well, you know what? We're gonna stand right here." And now, 25 years later, they're getting hit by a train because look at what's happening out there.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And look, there's actually the people who saw this a long time ago with people in child welfare. They saw that whenever there were animals being abused, children were being abused. Then along comes the animal welfare, and they recognized it. And law enforcement, the judicial system in this country never saw it until maybe about 15, 20 years ago. The FBI put it on their list of one of the 3 things to recognize for a serial killer. And they always had their 3 different things. And they dropped one, and they made the top number 1 animal cruelty as the one thing you could look for in a serial killer. And almost every serial killer has started out on animals. And one way or another, they have started, and they escalate to human beings. So these are the things we need to look at. Everything is interrelated.
Yeah.
The things with kids, how kids are treated, then how do they treat the family pet or the neighbor's pet, and then it goes on from there.
But parents should be aware of this as well. They should be taught this as well. If you're out there and you have a kid, you wanna know what's going on with your kid. If they're doing these things, you want to know the signs as well.
Exactly right. Yeah. You would think, but you know what? How many places do you know educate parents or teachers, for that matter, on how to recognize these things, to be in tune with what kids are going through?
None that I know of.
That's right. Preventative measures.
Yeah.
Let's talk to these kids. Let them open up to what's going on, and right there, we could eliminate a lot of abuse of fellow classmates, a lot of killings, a lot of animal cruelty. We could start getting to the core of a problem, but we don't seem to want to do that for some reason. No presidents want to touch it. No political leaders really want to touch it for some reason, and it's criminal. And I think one day we're going to have to deal with it because it's getting out of hand.
Yeah, well, the bottom line is we have no choice but to deal with it at some point, good or bad or indifferent, because you have politics involved, nothing gets done.
That's right.
You get politics about politicians, this, that. You have lobbyists coming. And I'm just going to stray off the topic for a second. You look at the big oil companies like Exxon and everything else. You have the battery, the cars that run on these battery cells and stuff right now. This is stuff that they had in the pipeline a decade, maybe even longer than that ago.
Oh, decades ago.
But they put this kibosh on it because now the oil companies aren't going to be making that money. So now they say, okay, well, you can use gas and the battery. So now that's what you have right now, the hybrids.
Yeah.
But they can have a car that runs on these battery cells if they want to do it.
That's right. We're using no fossil fuel.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
and they're slowly seeping it in there simply because they don't want to hurt the oil industry.
Sure.
It's all about money. I think even General America sees it now. It's all about money. You remember, Lou? I don't know how old you are. Remember in the 70s, 74, 75, they had the big gas crises. Not enough gas.
Yeah.
With lines blocks long, and you had the odd and even numbers in order to get gas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happened? All of a sudden, the world produced more gas? No, because they controlled it. They controlled it so that they could jack the prices up, and we've gone through this several times since then.
Supply and demand, and that's what it is. It comes down to money. Because look, at the end of the day, the United States, we're a capitalist nation. And again, I love the United States, but there has to be lines drawn. There have to be. Between animal cruelty, you have your kids. That's the future. The kids are the future. If you don't mold them now, what's going to happen to our future?
Yeah, they are the future, and boy, we're sure not leaving them much of one.
No, and it's scary because now you have a lot of stuff going on, and now these kids are growing up, as you said. They're indifferent to the pain, suffering. They're indifferent to putting a bullet in your head.
Yeah.
They walk away and they go home and they eat dinner, and that's it.
They don't care. I mean, I looked at that kid in Mississippi and the one in Pennsylvania, and those two in Columbine. I looked at their faces, and I watched it over and over and over again on the news. And they were just shut down. It meant nothing to them. The ones that were alive, especially the one in Mississippi, the heavyset kid. And I can only imagine how many times that kid was bullied in school.
Yep.
How many times he was picked on, and he just flipped. Now, teachers never observed that. They didn't see that. I mean, please, you got to know how horrible it is for a kid to go to school and the fear he's got to go through and the reluctance to want to even go to school because he's going to be picked on, he's going to be abused. Well, I saw this when I was in school, and I got to tell you, if there was anything I despised, it was that. And I always fought any of the bullies that were picking on these kids. And for a while they started calling me Robin Hood because I would, help the weak, and I couldn't see it. I mean, I don't think
you're still doing it, and you're still doing it. So that's a good thing. Sure, that's definitely a good thing because now you're helping. I mean, you're doing a Big Brother thing, but you're helping those kids out. You're helping, save as many animals as you can, and you're exposing these. I don't even have a word for the people that put the animals through that. I don't have a word for them.
Yeah.
I can't even pull a word out of my head to even describe them. And any word that I am going to pull out of my head, I can't say on the show. So, but yeah, you're doing some great stuff, and I think everything you said it does make a lot of sense. But just imagine if the government or the chancellor of the schools or anyone out there that has the powers that be that would go and say, okay, you know what, that makes sense. Maybe we should watch after the kids a little more. Maybe we should not so much allow these puppy mills and all this stuff to happen and the abuse of these animals to happen. Okay, they have the power to do that.
Oh, they sure do. They sure do. And think about this. It's a lot cheaper to educate a kid and understand them and work with them than it is to have to build prisons and at $50,000-$55,000 a year to harbor each prisoner for crimes, that they committed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot cheaper to have something in the school that's going to help countless kids and just reconfigure their brains and their feelings to be more compassionate and sensitive. But you see, our government doesn't really want compassion and someone that's has a brain, that's a free thinker. I always say to kids in the school, any of you who are compassionate toward any other living beings, and you're a free thinker, you're the most powerful single entity there is.
Mm-hmm.
The government cannot control you. Corporations cannot control you, and you will stand up for what is right because one, you're compassionate, and two, you have a brain that thinks for itself.
Well, you know something. If you look throughout American history, you look at the most compassionate and compassionate thinkers that we had. What happened to them?
Yeah, of course.
You can go from Martin Luther King on down. You can go to Abraham Lincoln on that. I mean, what happens? What's the end result?
Yep.
People are afraid of you because there is something to be fearful of because there's nothing that's going to stop you from achieving your goals.
Yeah, and an older man named William Ricketts in Australia when I was down there, and we really bonded. And he was at that time he was in his 80s. He died at 96. But he said to me something. He says, if you are fighting the evils that are trying to destroy this world, they will try to destroy you. Yep. And they will do everything in their power to get rid of you. And he's right, and it's true. If you're trying to make some serious changes, there are people out there that are going to try to do away with you. I don't worry about it. The only thing I worry about, I don't worry about dying. We're all going to die. It's not a matter. We do so much to really hang on to living to the point that we're willing to let animals be tortured. We're willing to see other people suffer. In my view, if I have to live with my conscience telling me I didn't do everything I could that day to make some kind of a change, either for kids or animals or people in general, then I know I haven't done what I'm supposed to do while I'm here. Can you imagine if we all would think like that too? It'd be a lot better world to live in.
No, without a doubt. But again, what happens is that people are afraid of a lot of things, and I think that's something that's kind of like instilled in you when you're born and you're being raised and you see the society the way it is. Some people, a lot of people are afraid of success. A lot of people are afraid to take a stand. A lot of people are afraid to do this and do that. But the ones that kind of like stray away from that and say, you know what, I am going to be different. I am going to do something. I am going to make a difference in this world in some way or another. Those are the ones that are actually making things happen, like yourself. But then also you become the most criticized, and that's what makes it interesting to me. That I see this like, okay, but then you'll face so much opposition in trying to reach your goals that it's amazing.
Yeah, as a kid, I was very fortunate. I wound up in an orphanage for 3 years. I say fortunate. It was my misfortune then. It's my fortune now, and because I learned what it is like for a kid to be torn away from his mother and put in an institution, and it wasn't easy, especially when you're 4.5 years old. And I have a sister that was 3, and here we are, we're being torn away from our mother who was ill because she had cancer and stuff, and we're put in an orphanage. So I've learned to empathize with what's going on with kids. Because of that. And then when I turned 11 years old, I'm coming home from school one time, and they had protection money, and you had to pay 10 cents a week. And I remember these two guys. I won't mention their names. I do mention them in my book, but I remember these two guys, Butchie and Bobby Magacy. And I remember them, asking for protection money in the schoolyard, and I had a wise mouth, even though I weighed about 15 pounds. I just had a real wise mouth, and I told them basically what to do. Right. And on the way home, they waited for me, and right in front of the old blind guy, Sal, the newspaper guy who sold the newspapers there, they beat me up. And I remember them kept kicking me in the groin, And I remember laying at my face in the gutter in the dirty water and looking at these old stogie cigars laying there in the water. I remember putting my hand up toward the people like to help me. People were watching. They just thought, kids having a fight. And it was a tough neighborhood. And I remember nobody helped me. And I just remember I had to crawl all the way home because I couldn't walk. I was in so much pain. And from that day on, I learned how to take care of myself, fight. From 11 years old on, I learned how to fight. And I swore it would never happen to me again, nor anybody else I ever saw going through this, even if it meant I would die. At least there'd be a moment in their life when they knew somebody was trying to help them. And that was a promise I made, and a promise I kept. And it's just terrible that someone's got to go through that to really make a change. But that's what changed me. That's what made me move. But everybody could do something. You don't have to go to the extremes that I go.
No.
But you can do something to help.
Sure. And again, I think sometimes in life you have to go through the rough stuff to really appreciate what's around you.
Yeah.
And what you went through, that was a life-altering moment because it made you who you are today.
Yeah. And then, everybody's got certain things in their life that makes them what they are. But, and again, it works in the opposite way. If a kid is going through this stuff in school, and we're doing nothing about helping them, their lives are becoming formed to be very angry and to do something about it, and to create some kind of problems by either killing somebody or worse, killing a lot of people.
I think that I think that it's just interesting how things develop in people's lives, and how many people out there that are looking. They're looking for something. They're looking. Even these kids, they're looking for something, but it's not there for them.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head.
Yeah, it's
You're right on the money, Lou.
Yeah,
they are looking for something, and we're not seeing it. We're not giving it to them. We're not listening.
Right. Well, like you said, when you went through that as a kid, you reaching out. That's them reaching out, but there's nobody there. People are just walking by, and that's what's happening because nobody cares. I mean, maybe they care, but they don't know what to look for. Okay, so it's not as easy as a kid coming up to you saying, "Okay, I have a problem. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing drugs, I need help, or I have a problem at home." They're not going to come out and tell you. So yeah, I think that there has to be something done with that in the educational system. They can help parents as well. That'd be fantastic. With the animals. I mean, I'm just floored when you told me about the legislation that was passed to make animal rights activists, they do something like that, terrorists. I mean, that's disgusting to me.
Yeah. It scares me to think that this country's going down that path and going down it fast. And you know what? You get people in the NRA, and you get other organizations that supported that bill going through. Wait a minute. My rights are impinged upon right now. Your rights will be impinged upon tomorrow, guaranteed. It's just a matter of time before one person's rights or another. There's I forget how that saying goes, where in Germany, they came and started taking the communists away, and they said, "Well, I'm not a communist. I don't have to worry." And then they came and they took the Jews. "Well, I'm not Jewish. I don't have to worry." And they came and they took these people and that people. And then I'm not this, I'm not that. And then all of a sudden they came to me, and there was nobody else to turn around and ask for help. So that's why when something like this happens, we need to, really start the band together. You may not like animal rights issues, whatever, but don't take the rights of somebody else away.
Right.
That's what this country was built on. That's what a lot of people have died for and fought for.
Sure.
This is, like you said, Lou, it is a great country.
Sure.
It is a great country, but we need to stand up to these big corporate people that are going to profit off of our suffering.
Look, some of the greatest people in the history books in this country were those that stood up to fight against the masses. They stood up to fight for what's right.
That's right.
Okay, and I touch on Martin Luther King because that's the most in recent history. But no, even with Kennedy, even with certain people, but people are afraid. They're afraid of someone standing up for what's right. And I just personally, I just don't get it. If something's right, it's right. You're standing up for it. You're going to go and fight for what's right out there and try to make a difference, even in a small way. even in a small way, even again, as you said, even if they don't want to be animal activists and going out there and hang out with PETA and start going with the protest banners and everything, but there's something they can actually do. So why don't you tell us what they can do?
Well, there's a lot of things. First of all, if you're talking about suffering, let's talk about suffering of animals first.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll talk about kids,
Mm-hmm.
because both of them, to me, are the same.
Right.
With animals, don't ever buy from a pet store. Never buy from pet. Go to your local shelter. Go to your rescue organization. Rescue an animal. Then you're really saving a life. If you think you're saving a by going to a pet store and you say, "Oh, I want to get that dog. If it's been in there for 2 months, I feel bad for it," and you buy that dog, you just contributed to the problem. It's like trying to put a fire out by throwing gasoline on it. You're not going to smother that fire with gasoline. You're just going to make it worse.
Right.
And if you feel bad about animals locked in cages that are suffering horribly, like cows or pigs or chickens, don't eat them.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people, don't eat them. If you really, when people say, "Oh, I love animals," I say, "Well, then you're a vegetarian,"
Mm-hmm.
because it does. It extends even to that level of, you know what? I don't want to see suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Suffering is suffering, and these animals are suffering from my palate. Lou, it's 30 years now,
Mm-hmm.
Almost 31 years since I've ever eaten meat or well, it's less years, about 28 years for dairy
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. But I box.
Mm-hmm.
I do martial arts. I still stay in shape. I'm 61 years old, and I'm not deficient in any kind of protein or anything.
Right.
So,
but
and even in that case,
there's other things you can eat. You can have tofu and stuff like that. There are other natural ways to go.
there's a million things you could eat, and we don't need all the protein that it was cracked up to be. I mean, it's really, I call it the protein myth.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need all that protein. You just don't need it. We have Olympic class athletes that are vegan. The one Russian guy who was one of the strongest men in the world, weightlifter, he was a vegan.
Mm-hmm.
And still is. I mean, you don't need all these, but it's perpetrated by the food industry. And the food industry is a big industry in this country. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Put your TV on, you see all the ads.
Sure, and look what we're doing to the kids today in this country. They're obese.
Oh yeah.
The kids are not fat anymore. They're obese, and we allow this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
Money. It comes down to money, because the more you sell, doesn't matter who it's to. If you're selling soda or hamburgers or whatever it is, fast food, this, that, cereal with all the sugar and all that jazz, it comes down to dollars and cents and what goes on the profit line, and that's it.
Sure. And who benefits by it? Like you say, the food industry, but who else benefits by it? The biomedical research community, because where do those people wind up?
Yep.
They got heart attacks, they got diabetes, they got cancer because of bad diets. Who benefits? But the biomedical research community. Again, they benefit by it. So of course they're not going to say anything, and try to re-educate these children not to eat this crap and have their parents taking them to McDonald's and eating that kind of stuff. I mean, we got a big problem, but it's, you know what? It's a good way to control the masses.
Yeah, but that's what they do, But again, with stuff like that, it has to start at the home. It has to.
It has to.
Yeah,
it has to. It's up to the parents to really go ahead and make a difference. It's up to the parents to start trying to make a change.
Yeah. If they have to do that. If they don't do that, then the kids are going to be lost. So, if they're not getting into school, and then the reality is you don't do it at home, they're going to attach to something or adhere to something else out there in the street, and that's even a worse situation, no doubt about it.
Yeah, indifference is worse than just having a motive like the money industry.
Yeah.
But for us out there who are indifferent to this happening, where that really is the essence of inhumanity, being indifferent to any of these things. I don't care if it's animal, children, people, issues, whatever. If we're indifferent, we're responsible for it. Yeah,
I mean, when people are indifferent about serious things like animal cruelty and stuff like that, I just shake my head. It's like, I mean, doesn't that affect you emotionally? Doesn't it do anything for you? And they, some people shrug their shoulders, say, no, it doesn't bother me. So, oh wow, where's your heart?
Yeah.
There has to be something more there, But then again, maybe that's the way I was raised, to care about the people and the things around me. So maybe that's what it is. But hopefully, people, will start, the parents will start doing that for their kids and give their kids a fair shot of actually growing into great adults. Because if they don't have the guidance, how are they gonna know? They can't teach themselves.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right, Lou.
Yeah, so Chris, now I know we had you on the phone for a little bit, and I do appreciate your time. I know you have a lot of things to do, but now can you let our listeners know, how they can find out more about Last Chance for Animals or the Big Brother thing as well?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. As far as the Big Brother, and again, I've been an unofficial Big Brother. For me, it was too time consuming to go through all the Big Brother red tape. But
Okay.
I do think it's a very good organization. And for me, I just did it anytime I came across a kid that needed help, and I could see it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these kids I got from doing the lectures. Some of them I got from way back when I was a cop and I got thrown off the police
Mm-hmm.
department in Jersey. I a bunch of these kids. That's when I started when I was 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. So I mean, for that, as far as being a big brother, that's just looking out for the kids that need somebody to talk to. They want somebody to listen to them, and then maybe extend some advice without being preachy to them. And so if anybody wants to get hold of us at Last Chance for Animals, where our website first is www.lcanimal.org, lcanimal.org. And if you want to email me, you can email me at DeRose, my last name, DEROSE, at lcanimal.org. And we have an 800 number, which is 888-88-ANIMAL. That's 5 8s and then animal. So you can always call us, and we'll be glad to help you with whatever issues or problems that we can be of any help to.
Well, that's excellent, Chris. And I think what you're doing is, I mean, I can't even, again, what you're doing is fantastic. I think you're making a difference. And I know you're making a difference because I'm on the phone with you.
Right.
Okay, so, you're making a difference in not only in the lives of the people around you, but you're making a difference for people in general. And animals in general. I mean, this is the stuff that you're doing, and you're hopefully it'll start spreading. Because, like cancer is a bad thing and it spreads. Hopefully this will be a good thing and have that effect in a positive way.
Well, yeah, and it's people like you, Lou, and Jane Velez Mitchell, who are out there, and you have that means of getting the word out there on a regular basis, that are able to do it, and it doesn't have to always be just animal issues or just people or children issues. There are many other good issues that need to be dealt with.
Sure.
And I appreciate somebody like you who is really out there putting it on the line and getting the word out there to countless thousands, millions of people. And that's where it needs to be. It needs to get out there more. And we need to keep saying it. We gotta keep telling people this, because you know this too. In commercials, for example, that person's got to see a commercial on the average of 9 times before they realize that product exists.
Yep.
So we've got to keep getting that word out there. Whatever that word is. And my big word today is just being compassionate. Compassionate to all living beings. And it's not. It's not to me. I don't want to sound hokey. I'm not a hokey kind of person.
But you're being real. You're being real, Chris.
Exactly. Because if you're compassionate again toward a little animal, you're going to be more compassionate to your fellow beings and your classmates. And like I say, I feel just as strong about one issue as I do the other issue: animals and humans, children. I'm very passionate about that. So,
that's good stuff.
And people have it in them. I do believe most people have it in them. They just got to get outside of themselves a little bit,
Well, sometimes they have to see something for themselves. Say, "Holy cow!" You know,
Yeah.
and maybe they need that reality check, and some people
To
do
experience it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Some people do need that, you know. But look, Chris, you know, you have a friend in the UCW radio show, so you know, whatever we can do to help you, you know, just let me know, and we'll talk about it on the show again, have you on again, and talk about this thing. I mean, you and I can stay on the phone for hours about this, but we just don't have hours. You have stuff to do, and we have a limited time on the show.
Yeah. Lou, thank you very much for what you're doing. I really appreciate it. I'm sure we'll be talking again.
Oh, most definitely, Chris, and I appreciate your time, my friend. And you know, keep going strong with what you're doing. You're doing something great, and I want our listeners to go to Last Chance for Animals. You know, again, you don't have to be an animal activist. Just care. Just have a heart and care. And that's all I have to say. Care about your kids, care about the animals, and do something, anything. Any little thing can help, because you have a million people doing a little something, that adds up to a big something.
That's right. Right.
All right, Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Right.
Initiating shutdown sequence.
What is your major malfunction?
So let it be written. So let it be done.
Ladies and gentlemen, my mother thanks you, my father thanks you, my sister thanks you, and I thank you.